Let's look at elevations and sections. So we're going to have those tools over here under this right here, this little house symbol. Those are going to be our elevations and our sections. So within this tool, we've got our cross section or elevation. We've got a back clipped cross section, which I'll show you how that works. And then we've got a wall elevation. You've also got some orthographic views here, and those are essentially 3D views with, but are in a certain angle, not perspective. So if you remember learning about those in drafting class. But we're just going to focus on elevations and sections. So the way we get started with that is with this, let's look at this cross-section elevation first. So the first elevation I always like to do is the front elevation of the house. I want that to be elevation 1. And you can go back and renumber these, but I do the exteriors in order. So that's it. I probably did that too quickly to even tell. You just select that tool, click it, and I'll show you now on the second one. You just click where you want it to go, and then you rotate it the direction you want it to face, and then let it go, and then it gives you the elevation. So that's literally all it takes to make an elevation. So now you can see here's that side of the house and here's my front elevation. So now I will just go around and make elevations all the way around. I always just go around the house like that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's all 4 of my elevations. So now there's a couple of ways to make adjustments to those. So let's look at this front elevation. Okay, now that I've got my elevation symbols on there, I'm going to clean up the plan just a little bit. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn on my dimensions so I can see where those are sitting. Where's my dimension layer? So all of those exterior dimensions were on that automatic layer, so there they are. So now I can see where I want that one. I can pull that one a little bit closer, and that's not going to change the view of that at all. And I'm going to move this. Actually, this whole dimension string can go a little bit closer. So you can rearrange those to so that your plan looks nice. And then you can see I moved that front elevation. It didn't change the way that this looks at all. But you will see that you can see that roof back there from that garage, and I don't really want to I don't want to see that in this view. So what we want to do is open up the dialog box for this elevation. Same way we do everything else. And so we want this to be back clipped. So that is going to, if I move this out of the way, so that's going to, I can tell it how far back I want this to go. So if I only want to show a portion, or if I want it to go all the way back, but I don't want it to show that garage. I only want it to go like to there. So the house is 40'6" deep. And, you know, that's what, 10 feet ahead of. So if I put it, let's just say if I put it 50 feet, to take a wild guess at that. Okay, and so now that's going to give us this extra option here. And I can actually now move that visually if I want to. So I only want that to go to the back of this house. I do not want to show the garage in my front elevation. So if I go back to this front elevation, now that little bit of garage roof is gone. So I don't have to worry about that now. So now my elevation is set how I want it. And then I have some options when I'm in here. It automatically comes in color. I can turn that off if I don't want the color right here, this color button. That turns the color on and off, and that gives me just the line drawing. And then there's other options here under the rendering techniques. So right now it's in a vector view, and let me turn the color back on. So that's the vector view. So you've got your lines with your flat textures, and here's the standard view. So that's going to give you those three-dimensional textures. You've got a glass house view to see all the way through. Those types, a duotone, technical illustration, the painting technique, watercolor, or line drawing. And so in each of these, you can go into the technique options and make settings here, and you can change them here too. So you can go in and really customize this to exactly how you want your elevations to look. But I'm just going to cancel out of that, and I'm just going to go back to the vector view and keep it as this for now. Okay, we've got all of our elevations marked and saved. So let's go in and add some dimensions. Let's look at our front elevation here. So on the exterior, we are going to just do some basic dimensions for this. And what we are going to do is we are going to use some of the automatic dimensioning tools. And when you're in an elevation view, you will have, let's see, where is it? You will have this automatic dimension tool. So what we want on the outside here is I'm just going to do these story pole dimensions. So I'm just going to click it so that we see what it looks like. So these are your story poles. This just shows your basic overall heights of the building. Okay, so there's my layers now. I've got the top of my subfloor, I've got my ceiling height, and I've got my highest ridge. Although that's actually connecting back to that garage height, which I don't want. So I'm going to move that. And you just select the dimension, and then you select this, and then you can snap it there to where you want it to go. So I want it to show that top ridge, not where the garage was. So, all right, so that's how I'm doing. Oh, well, it's done all of these dimensions as well this time, hasn't it? So I don't want to show any of these, so I'm just going to delete those. Yep. And on this side, what is this showing? This is showing that header height, which is, I'm just going to delete all of this because I've got different header heights here. So I'm just going to delete that for now. So on this set of elevations, all I'm going to show is these dimensions here. Over in Interiors and Home Designer Pro, you're going to have some slightly different options for this. So let's just go over there and look on Interiors. Now, Interiors is set up for, just as it's called, interiors. So when we pull an exterior elevation, it's going to be just give you some different options. It still will do it for you. So there's your exterior dimension, but when it comes to your dimensioning for it, you're not going to have that story pole option. So it's only going to give you these options. So you can just do this auto elevation dimensions, and it will give you some dimensions, and then you can go in and make adjustments to these. So I could pull that up and do my ridge height like that. Yes, I know I'm doing an automatic dimension, so I can move it. Well, it's not letting me. So let's see if I can do a point-to-point dimension. Yes. So I can pull that dimension there. So I can get in here and I can do this manually, but it's not going to give me that story pole option for interiors. So let's look at Home Designer Pro, and let's get an elevation. Where's my elevation tool? There we go. So if I pull that elevation there on the front, that happened quickly, you couldn't even see it. So there's my front elevation. If I go here to there's those tools, and I do not have the automatic dimension tools here either. So you've got to just do your dimensions manually over here in Home Designer Pro. So you could just use your point to point again and pull those for your ridge height, or your so if you need to do those, you just have to do those manually. So let's look at our interior elevations. So actually I'm going to go ahead and close these down because I have that saved. So I can go ahead and close the rest of these elevations for now. And you can see in your plan here, when they're open, they turn a different color. And then when they're not open, they show as they do on plan. So I can, let's say I want to shut down 4. I want to look at elevation number 5 in my kitchen. So to do my dimensions on my elevation, I'm going to use this NKVA Auto Elevation Dimensions. And I'm not going to change anything in its default settings because there's really not much I can change in there. So all I'm going to do is I just clicked it and it popped up all of my dimensions just like that. So all I have to do now is go in and do some cleanup. And to do that, I'm just going to select the dimension string, and then you can see all of these points here is what it's dimensioning to correspond to all of this. So I don't want all of this for this particular job. I just want to show my basic heights. So I'm going to grab that dimension that I don't want, and I'm just going to swipe it away. You just grab the little handle and swipe it away. And now I have my 36-inch countertop height, that's all I want to show here for my heights. And I do not want to show my window or my shelves, but I do want to show my backsplash height. And so I can get rid of these and this window. So you just click it and swipe it. Okay, and then you have to be really careful in here about, because when it gets really tight, which one you want to get rid of. So I want to get rid of that one, and I want to get rid of that one. So I show my 48-inch upper in there. All right, so I've got the heights on that side. I'm not going to show any heights on this side because that would be redundant. It's going to be the same. The overall heights are the same. So let's go to the bottom. It's showing my overall room width. And then this level of the dimensions is showing my center lines to my appliances. Okay, so I'm just going to clean this up also because it's picking up the center line of my sink and the center line of this fixture here, but I just want to show one. So I'm going to get rid of it on the fixture and just show it on the sink. So I'm going to select that and get rid of the one that's attaching that fixture. So that's going to show my center line there. And then from that wall also. And then these cabinet dimensions look fine. This one is a funky dimension because this is that corner cabinet. And it's that corner unit with kind of a lazy Susan in there. So, but the depth is correct and all of these are correct. So I'm just going to leave those. And let's look at the top. So we've got that 24-inch cabinet. And what else have we got here? Let's select this and see what this is attaching to. Okay, actually, I'm just going to get rid of all of this. I'm just going to get rid of all of these because the window is going to be dimensioned on the floor plan to the center. And so this is really just to show my cabinetry. So I'm just going to clean this up and show just my cabinets here. And this one's going to be funky as well because it's that corner cabinet. So I'm going to get rid of that. And it's got an odd dimension here. You can move this if you just want to show that overall depth of that whole cabinet there. So actually, I'm just going to leave that there for simplicity for now. But that's how you get in and move those dimensions around if you need to, or get rid of them. You just grab this handle and then re-snap it somewhere else. So that's how you either can remove it or move it. So, and I'm noticing now too that I've got a portion, it looks like probably a portion of my range hood showing. So I'm just going to look at that with the plan view. And you know what? I'm going to turn off my electrical for a minute because that is just really getting in my way. And I'm going to turn off this part of the electrical too. And let's see what I'm looking at where, okay, yeah. So here's that elevation and you can see the line there and it is just barely picking up the edge of that range hood. So I'm just going to use my arrow key and I'm just going to nudge that over. And that looks much better. So now I'm not catching that edge there. And so the other thing you might want to do is you can go in on your elevation and you can use your CAD tools here. If you like to show the side of the cabinet with a hatch pattern, you can just draw a rectangle and select that and open its dialog box and do a fill on it. And you can do a hatch there. And I like to do it at 45. And so to show the side of that cabinet there. And you could do that up there too. And I could just Control C and Control V. And then make a copy of that. And oops. And then just adjust that into the side of that cabinet where it cuts into to show that that is a cut through. So if you like to show your elevations like that, you can do that. And again, you can turn the color on and off here. Turn the color on. And then you have your same options for your rendering techniques as well over here. So if you wanted that to be kind of a squiggly line technical, or this is the squiggly line one. So if you want it to look like a hand drawn, you can do that. You can go to the standard view. It's going to have your actual texture images. And the vector view is what we were in originally. And let's see, you can do the painting technique. You probably want to get in and fine tune that, and the watercolor technique. So the watercolor technique is going to be the painting technique with the lines over top. So that can look kind of nice. It does start to get pretty graphics heavy when you do that, so things can start to slow down. So typically we're just going to work in the vector view. And typically I turn off the color as well while I'm working so that I can see everything very clearly. Okay, so we finished that, and now I'm going to do that with the rest of my elevations as well before I send them over to print. But that covers the how you build your elevations.